Ngowi TV, informed economists and business perspective.
Bora kuelewa cha kufanya kuliko kuambiwa cha kufanya.
We Tanzanians, we witnessed a lot of interest from multinational companies.
That is one of the things and initiatives that we would like to have addressed with government in terms of if you're in the industry and we're looking for investors.
If it's borrowed well and spent on development expenditure rather than current, it's okay.
Industrialization has failed because accountants did not play their role very well.
Those people who had local shares in the country thought they had local content that supported the people.
And our policy, low volume, high yield.
And tax measures basically is talking about how much the government is expected to collect.
Because when you are borrowing, you are creating liabilities. But then if you turn these liabilities into assets in terms of infrastructure, roads, ports, airports, education, health, that's no problem really in the long run.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we can start us off. Given your experiences, your work you're doing, and whether it's within government or civil society, you could just give us some understanding in terms of the policy and practice around tax incentives. Also, given what we've been discussing over the last one day and part of this morning, what issues they are in, issues around discretion, issues around what the policies provide for and who gets to benefit from what, but just basically a general overview of the policy and practice environment around tax incentives. And so it depends also in terms of where your experiences are coming from. It's okay to open up about that kind of issue related to the work that you're also doing.
We all understand the objectives of tax incentives, and they are three-pronged. One thing is actually to promote investment, particularly in some sectors which the government thinks are priority areas. Then the second one is attract FDIs, and this is where we try to give tax incentives so that at least we can get some investors from foreign countries. There is this appreciation that we need to all be alive to, that when it comes to resources, apart from now the minerals that we are actually trying to exploit, capital is very scarce within the region. I don't know whether it's what we did historically, such that we never prioritized on some areas that could have brought in a lot of money that we could be generating our own capital. But the going has been tough, such that we want to do something. But you find that however much we may be saying that we have people who can invest in a particular sector, we find that we don't have local investors doing what we want done. Then the third one is actually creation of employment, which has actually been a big challenge, because we normally churn out many youths, and they are actually looking for formal employment, and none is forthcoming. One, because maybe the industries are not being set up, or whichever industries were set up those days, they are not increasing in capacity, so they are not requiring more employees, meaning that whoever is being churned out from the universities and colleges remain unemployed, and they only replace the ones who are actually retiring. Now, in Kenya, we have various tax incentives. And the first one, which I know we discussed at length yesterday, is the tax holiday. And this one is whereby companies are given a tax holiday, meaning that after they set up, they stay for a number of years. And this one is was prevalent when export processing zones were set up in early 1990s. Then we have investment allowances, especially touching on construction of buildings and procurement of machinery, mainly for the purpose of manufacture, which was being given, or even right now is at 100%, such that on the first year of use, even if you spend like $1 million US, that one is actually allowed to claim against the taxable income for the first year. Then we have claim of tax credits. This one is mainly, especially when you have signed the double tax agreements, such that whatever tax that has been paid out there, you can use it to offset against the tax liability that accrues on the income that you've generated. Then we have accelerated wear and tear allowances on capital costs, and this one in most cases applies to plant and equipment, and it ranges from 37.5%, that is for heavy earth moving equipment, tractors and those kind of things, up to the lowest is 12.5%, which is for general equipment. Then we have some tax exemptions, which now in most cases cover a cut across the Income Tax Act, the VAT, and also ECMA, which are unified, because now it depends on the priority area that is on focus.
Mostly the tax incentives in Rwanda, the policies, like any other policies in Rwanda, based on the background, the state of the nation, and where the government wants to position itself. So all these international policies and charters mostly find us on the way. Like the government thinks, where are we coming from? Who are we today? Where do we want to be? So they always design the policies basing on those three factors. And the tax incentives, it's not, I would say, it's not constant. It always changes depending on an interest they have on that very business. And the priorities, let me maybe cite out the priorities because of the background of our country. It was first of all infrastructure and also production, manufacturing industries. So, because there was a very big gap that the government wants to cover. And the third one is about solving the issue of unemployment. Before I go to tax maybe incentives, but what are the targeted initiatives for the, first of all, as I said, the initiatives and the gaps to be covered, and on infrastructure, attracting investors. First is, of course, to generate revenue. Two, to solve the issue of unemployment.
The key issue was who benefits from incentives, who should benefit, who should not benefit. Now, part of issues have been now 30 years later. Are the rationale for incentives still in place, because in 1980s we said, investment climate was no good, infrastructure was not good, roads, ports, airports were not so good, skills and talent in the labor force, we don't have enough of them, social amenities in terms of, I've done a lot on FDI. I understand investors who look at social amenities, school, education, you name them. Now, 30 years later, have we not really changed things? And I think we have changed things. Now, the question is, if things have changed to the better of investment climate, we might not have ranked well as Rwanda in the doing business, but we understand. Those of us who have been here, I'll come again with another year where most of you are not here. Those of us who have been here since 1960s, we understand exactly how infrastructure has improved, we understand how education has improved, all kind of stuff. Now we are saying, this should be matched by reduced, really, incentives. And of course, things are not exactly the way they are. So those are part of issues. But also, issues have been also, issues of debate have been, logically, if investment climate is bad, And investment climate is bad, like, infrastructure, roads, ports, airports, because we don't have money. So what will be the logic? The logic is collect the revenue instead of giving them as incentives, and then use them to fix what is broken in the investment climate, to improve infrastructure, to improve roads, etc., etc.
Let's say that this is a developed country, and this is developing country. In between two countries, there is DTA. DTA, yes. And this DTA, as we discussed yesterday, it's an incentive. When there is a DTA, the rate is a bit lower than the normal tax policy, and maybe the dividend will be like 10% or 5%. And this company from country B is investing in country A with a DTA behind. This country, they have like a domestic tax rate of 25%. And due to DTA here, it's 5%. You see? Now, this country, or this company one, investing in Tanzania, for example, as a developing country, it will pay 5%. You see? The 5% under DTA. And the remaining 20% will go where? To country B, because they are domestic or their residence country, because it's the headquarters of this company. It has a branch, a PE, permanent establishment in Tanzania. With DTA, it will pay 5%. The remaining percent, because here it's 25%, they will pay the balance in their country for this income raised in developing country. This is an incentive, right? Now, the issue is that, for example, country B is providing grants to this country. The grant, which is from the developed countries, it passes through different channels. It passes through cabinet to approve the grant and parliament. But this country, saying that we need investments in our country, they will provide incentives or exemption under income tax, under VAT, under excise, and maybe investment code. You see, those are incentives which a company may get investing in this country, will get 10 years holidays, like you said in your special economic zone. Will get exemption on different products, maybe they are, and services they are providing in this country. They will get some excise and investment promotion, Those are different incentives provided by this country, which is receiving only 5%, and other 20% is going away, and then it's providing additional incentives I discussed. You can't even list them because there are a lot. Now imagine this country, it's a donor, I can say. It's a donor to foreign companies. Now, these incentives are just going like this, in the air. There is no control by this country, cabinet or parliament. It means that the country, this parliament here, or the cabinet here, is not aware. They just grant under the law, and they're not aware how much has gone under income tax, how much has gone under VAT or excise or investment code. But remember, the grants or loan from the other side, it passes through cabinet, parliament, and after ratification, then they can submit the grants or the loan. Now, the case is here is that we as East African, we don't have like common criteria or principles to control our tax incentives.
Really, in the long run.